Hey y'all, it's Alexis from Ask Alexis here, and guess what? It is a whole nother comfy couch conversation because apparently it's a thing now. Um, and I'm here with my friend, colleague, um, business partner in a couple of ventures, um, and an overall wonderful person, Donnie Hill, who is the CEO and founder of Life Maximizer Business and Marketing Strategies. But he ain't gonna just maximize marketing and business. He gonna maximize your life, and he asks the right questions. Okay, so we often go back and forth with each other. And he be like, "So what would it look like if?" And what about he asks you the questions and make you go, "Hmm." And it is wonderful to have him as a friend because as a person who makes people go, you need others that do that for you. So Donnie, is there anything you want to add to what it is that you do?
No, I can't top this. So I'm excited to be here, and it's really nice to be in my pajamas and for this to be really casual.
That is the whole point. We do a whole lot of intense emotional work with people and mindset shifting and all that. And though we're gonna talk about them things, we kind of just gonna talk about them in a fun way.
Oh,
And a new thing, and I know this because he's my friend, y'all. A new thing that Donnie is bringing out in himself and to his brand and in the lives of the people that he works with is Black Boy Joy. So we're gonna talk about Black Boy Joy, what that is, what it looks like, how that correlates with Black Girl Joy, and then we also, on a seemingly unrelated, but I'm pretty sure you can figure out how it's related topic, we're gonna talk about our personal money stories and how that has played out in our lives and what we do to change that. So Donnie, let us hear your joy. Oh,
let me.
wait. Let me bring up Funshine.
What's up, Sunshine?
Right. So let's hear the joy, and I'll put
All
the
right.
bear down here.
Yeah. So I think I was just having a conversation with some new colleagues today about Black Boy Joy and what that means. And really for me, it's because I'm tired of being tired. Like I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of being frustrated. I'm tired of pretending like things are gonna be different when they're not. So I needed to find a way not only to take care of myself and my own mental health and my mental well-being, um, but I really wanted to enjoy myself. And so there was this tension between how do I enjoy myself and continue to look for the positives when all of these negative things are happening in communities across the nation, around the world. And I realized that part of that is a practice. It's a practice. Joy is a practice for me. And so it's something that I have to intentionally do every day and focus on because it's so easy to get sucked down the rabbit hole of the negative. And so I'm
Wait,
excited.
before you skip past that, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You can't just drop a nugget like joy is a practice, and that's how you deal with all of this hecticness that's going on. And just so y'all know, whenever you're watching this video, this is the following Friday after RBG died, the following Friday after the Wednesday where Breonna's murderer got wanton endangerment for the walls that they shot into of the neighbors. This is the following, and Trump signed an executive order to ban DEI education in governments and in the government and in school, the military, and to teach that kind of education is divisive and racist in itself and anti-American. And so there's this, in contrast to the 1619 project, he signed the executive order for the 1776 project. So I'm just letting y'all know we need this practice Donnie about to give us. So Donnie, fix your face and get into your practice because this is going on and you found some joy, so you're gonna have to find it again so we can all get it because I spent a week in tears and have a depressive episode. So I need this.
Yeah, got it. Well, so I think part of the practice for me has been honoring the anger and the frustration and like just being pissed of how can people not see that this is a thing, that racism exists, that we're still talking about the same shit that we've been talking about for centuries. And it wasn't until probably the pandemic where I really had to sit and stew in it, where I realized if that doesn't change, then am I just gonna spend the rest of my life angry all the time and bitter all the time and frustrated, rather than taking some time to acknowledge, like, you know what, this system has never actually been for me. So if I can just honor that, then it gives me choice to figure out how to do something different. And so I feel like the past 6 months have really been about me learning how to do something different. So I've been doing a lot of nervous system regulation work, because I didn't realize how much my body had been in functional flight, functional fight, functional freeze, functional fawn. It's just like I just numbed myself out to so many things just because I needed to get by. And
Before we get into the joy practice, you mentioned some things that are kind of common, and I just kind of want to like make sure we get those out before we get into the joy practice. So one, you see how I'm grabbing the back of my neck? Mm-hmm. That's the response, y'all. But it's almost like where you said like has this changed, or things have changed, but am I gonna wait to be happy? And there is this like, especially if you are in anti-racism work, there's this like, I'll be happy when, or I gotta do, because it's such a humongous undertaking that is like, oh, I have to do it when. But then also you mentioned like, so if we're doing it when, we ain't being happy now. That was the point. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't finish that thought out loud. But the other thing is that like some of those responses that you mentioned, like going numb and functional freeze and functional fawn, fight and flight, all in functionality, I don't think I realized either, because this week I had mental fogginess. And because of the nervous system work I have done, although I didn't know it was nervous system work when I started doing it. Y'all know I had that spiritual awakening, and like now I'm getting language for all the things that were happening, but it was just following the moonbeam. But all the work that, like, because I've done that work, I gave myself grace in the fogginess, but it also showed me how every other time I was foggy, I would just criticize myself, criticize. Then there's guilt and shame for not being able to perform, or it's like shut off all sensation in my body and go. But I'm going at this emotionally heightened state. Mm-hmm. And I had to grieve what felt like, so when I recognized it, like, oh, this is like, you do get foggy brained, and it's not a new thing. You just are present enough to recognize it. Yeah. I had to grieve the cost of the other times that I went foggy brain, like in corporate America, or just other times in my life where y'all don't get to know all my business. Not yet. You're gonna have to like, subscribe, and share, and then you'll get to know more of my business. I forgot to tell you that in the beginning. Like, subscribe, and share. Or subscribe, like, share, and turn on the notifications. We be talking some good stuff. So
Alexis will get you together in every single video that she puts out. So I highly recommend you follow her channel.
Thank you, Donnie. And so like, these are responses that we don't even be knowing we haven't, for having to deal with how often our amygdala or our brain is set into survival mode, where it's like scanning everything and there's this fog buffer, or going numb, or being all constricted and tight in your body, and then you don't wonder why your back hurt, or when you think about stuff your neck hurt. Or another thing that I've noticed I've been doing is I grind my teeth now, and I wake up with sore gums. But it was interesting, I was teaching my allyship course, and we were processing it, like we were just doing check-ins for the current events, and when the participants were given their check-ins, my gums began to ache. Like, there was a physical response. And then what's interesting, when I brought that up, one of the other participants was like, I didn't realize it, but actually my gum is hurting right here. So we did this like fascia pull where you got to pull way back here and way down here, and it stretched out some of the tenderness in my gums. And I didn't even like, that's a stress response.
Even as you were talking about it, I can feel my jaws tension.
And if y'all watching and you feel these things, it is
Yeah.
good to be aware of the signals that your body is giving you about your state of being. Because there are times if I'm in that functional go mode, my body is the only thing, being aware of my body and what it does is the only thing that makes me be like, oh, I need to pause and take a break. Like I'm like, because if I'm thinking everything's okay and yet I'm snapping at everybody and doing all of that, I'm very likely tight in there. I'm rubbing the back of my neck. Another thing I noticed I started doing is I do like this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like getting that energy. Like when I need to think about what to say, I'll start doing this, because especially if I need to be measured with my response. So those are things that my body, but then now that's my signal to my brain to like, wait a minute, check in, be present, be aware of what you're saying, you know?
Yeah. There was a period, probably 2 or 3 weeks, maybe about a month or a month and a half ago, where I could feel myself going through my depression, but it was the first time where I felt like I wasn't getting stuck in it. I was just moving through it. And at one point during that time, I realized, oh, I'm grieving. But I didn't recognize that it was grief, because it just,
grief sometimes be your constant companion. Well, it's hard to realize, like, oh, you mean to tell me my arm here? You know? Who would have thunk I had an arm? Right? Like,
it's funny that you bring that up, because as I process the grief, and as I've been putting these joy and well-being practices in place, I'm getting a lot of sensations in my body, or I'm feeling the sensations in my body a lot more, because I'm no longer numb like I used to be. And so in a lot of ways, it feels weird, like, what the hell is going on with my body? But I now recognize that my body is actually working the way it's supposed to work. I'm supposed to feel these sensations. They give me information of, hey, this isn't working, or hey, come check in with me, or hey, we need to go outside because I'm mentally foggy. And this past weekend, I was just sad, and I had a moment where I told the guys, I said, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go out. And I couldn't explain to them why. And there was part of me that didn't want to explain to them why, but I was just feeling sad. And so the past couple of days, they've been asking, what's been going on and how are you doing? And I said, I'm doing better. I just need time to process. But I'm now making more space for the sadness and for the grief when I feel it, because I know it's gonna pass. But if I don't acknowledge it or don't make space for it, then it's just gonna continue bottling up, and that's going to end up taking me in a negative direction. And so the reason why I say these joy practices are practice is because there are going to be some days where it's great and you're genuinely enthusiastic and excited about things, and then sunshine, and then there are going to be other days where you don't want to do it. Yeah.
That's Grumpy Bear.
Yeah.
But you
What's
see
up,
that
Grumpy?
it's loud, it's raining, and yet he still got love. That frown is upside down, right? Or it's not upside, it's the way the frowns are. But there are both days. So since we keep it light on Comfy Couch Conversations and we getting in there,
I know.
up on that joy, homie. You know what I'm saying? Like, fess up with them joy practices. We talked about why we need them. Now let's get them.
Yeah. When I think about joy practices, really the piece that I think has to be at the foundation is, what do you enjoy? Like, what brings you joy? And for me, I didn't it took me some time to figure that out. Like, I feel like now I'm just starting to reconnect to what brings me joy. So I'm drawing a lot more. I'm putting plants up in my house. I'm spending more time in nature. I'm exercising again. I've been running. I haven't done sprints like I used to do in track practice in almost 13, 14 years. And the past,
Make me feel bad, Mr. Athlete. Okay, let me tell you, I've been working out too.
you
And
have
now
been
my
working out.
booty does not sit on my thighs, it sits above my thighs. Okay, so I may not be sprinting like Mr. Track Star over here, but my booty sits above my thighs instead of on them. I am making progress. Sorry, I just wanted to tell y'all that really, I'm not really a hater.
This is the part that I love about our conversations. It's like, yeah, bring out the sexy.
Bring it out. That's part of joy as far as I'm concerned.
It is part of joy.
I will say this though, not that I would want to be very clear. I'm not implying or not implying that I have a promiscuous dating history. That's none of y'all business. However, when I wasn't in my embodiment practices, I found that I would use sex to feel connection.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wouldn't necessarily be out there creating connection, but if I, that's none of y'all business. But when I would have sex, that feeling of connection was more profound as an anomaly to my regular state of being, as opposed to like I'm happy and I feel connected in general.
Sex is always connection with sex is always interesting because I would say earlier before I got into relationships, I was promiscuous. I had a lot of exploration that I needed to do. And I realized it wasn't coming from a healthy place. It was like I'm yearning for connection, and that was my idea of how you got connection. You got connection through sex. But then after I was done, it was like, okay, but I feel empty again. And so then I go and do it again to try and keep that connection. And what I see now as part of my joy practices is really being clear around like what kinds of connection that I need, because I don't always need sexual connection. Sometimes I just need intimacy and affection where I just want you to touch me. That feels good to me. That's nourishing.
I had this boyfriend that was affectionate, and I didn't even realize how much I had cut off my affection, like my physical touch, until he was extra affectionate. But it wasn't, so I'm an empath, so it wasn't necessarily like, because I had been doing embodiment practices, I could feel that was a form of connection for him. That's one of his love languages. But it wasn't just trying to have sex all the time. It was generally cuddling and just sitting and being up under each other and feeling the closeness. But after my mom died, and she died when I was 19, my family isn't touchy-feely, and I don't have a lot of family. And my biological father died when I was 5. Like I said, the family I do have, we won't be really hugging and nothing like that. So I had, without realizing it, there was just this constriction of appropriate touch, because you don't really be cuddling with your friends, or you don't, like the level of social touch that's there. It made it so only with boyfriends was it permissible or whatnot. And it wasn't, and it wasn't until I was doing my embodiment practices and like feeling what feelings are. And I didn't do this, it wasn't like it was, I noticed it as a side effect in that relation. Like, oh man, I guess I really do like cuddling. And now I be sleeping with these bears, y'all. You know why? Because they soft, and then I put essential oils on them to make them smell good.
I love cuddling, and I also get really hot. So it's like, all right, we can cuddle for a bit, and then and then I can touch you. But I do like to have my foot like pressed up against their body, or have my hand on their arm or something. It's a comforting thing for me. Yeah, but I was like that too, where there was a while where I was like, nope, don't touch me. Why are you touching me?
I remember people coming in to hug, and I'd be like, "Here you go." Like, oh no, I don't do that. Like, how dare you feel like entitled to be pressed against my being? Um, so you mentioned enjoy practices, connecting with nature, making your environment look in a way that you like to look.
Mm-hmm.
What's a broke person's joy connection? Like, so you didn't know what you liked. You had to find what you liked, and you found that you liked decorating your house and plants.
No, I found that I need to be in nature. Like I need to have nature around me. Uh, and I have trees and stuff in my backyard, but I never had any plants like in the house. Or if we had them, they might last a week and then they die because I just wasn't taking care of them. But then I realized at one point there was this moment of there's something very comforting about having a little plant near me. And then when I had it near me, it lasted about a month, and I was like, oh, it hadn't died, so I'm doing something right. Okay, let me get some more and let's see what it's like to take care. And then as I started getting more plants, I just noticed that I felt better. And so it was really paying attention to that, and that was my reminder of, oh, part of joy. I equate joy with balance in a lot of ways, and part of the things that balance me is nature. And so that has to be in my environment. So if you are on a budget, um, I think part of it is looking for the things that are currently in your environment that excite you, or even if they don't excite you, they at least interest you. Like you have some curiosity about them. I think curiosity is a great doorway into figuring out what it is that you enjoy.
I, you're reminding me of like my joy discovery stages. I'm gonna have to
Mm.
start back on some of them practices because I'm gonna say this. Now I got a whole bunch of plants, right? Like, so as much as y'all might be watching and being like, I don't know about no plants, I got a black thumb, da 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 da. You got to start with very easy plants, right? Like, so you start with the ones that get sad when they need water, and you look at, and then they don't. It take a they live a little bit after they don't be watered for a while. Like I think it's the peace lily, the one they give at the funerals. That's a real good one because it just cry, and then you get the water and it stop crying, right? Like it's a real. I had one of them for 10 years, and I was a plant killer, but I would did that.
That's why I have succulents, and that's why I have this one where I only have to water it at least once a week.
But now I got an herb garden over there. I got an arrow garden that's growing tomatoes next to it. That's got a spider plant there. I got a money tree over there. I got basil. I got mint. Right, like this is in the house. There's a whole ass garden outside. But let me tell y'all this though. So once you get attached to caring for these things, you got to be prepared for the heartbreak of when the virus come, the varmint come. This outside, nature is hungry. It will eat your garden. I had to throw away a watermelon that didn't like develop today. It made me sad. So I'm really trying to. I have two more. I need 3. I really want them to grow to be. I want to eat my watermelon. I drink watermelon and a cantaloupe. Right now, the only thing I ate on my garden is greens and tomatoes. So like I planted a bunch of stuff, y'all. Right, I got way over. I didn't. You live and you learn. But I had potatoes too. But I was trying to grow a rose bush and I grew potatoes. So that's the curiosity and joy you bring to. So I saw some BuzzFeed video where you get the roses and you cut the head off and you slice the stem of the rose a little bit and you stick it in honey and stick it in a potato and plant it. And I did that, and I said, well, I'll have either a rose bush or some potatoes. And I had potatoes with rose sticks sticking out of it because the stems dried up. Um, but nonetheless, I ate the potatoes and they were good.
I believe it.
So I so some of my joy practices, and this is gonna be our transition into the money story, because I don't know how long we've been talking because we get together and just go. But I found my joy or my internal identity stability. So for me, being stable, it creates the space for joy. Um, but I found that after my spiritual awakening, and I was broke though. But I grew up broke, and I had to like talk to myself like, all right, Alexis. But I was broke, like I got fired from a job on some bullshit that had to do with racism. What was very racially motivated. It could have been sexism too. Like I wasn't sure with that guy. But I was broke though, and my money story, I didn't really save as much as I would have liked. Because I didn't know what to do with money. Like my mama always had the bills in somebody else's name, and then she died when I was 19, and I was on my it was my apartment, and she lived with me at the time that she died. And then so now it's like, whoa, I'm a full ass grown up, and yeah, that was traumatic. But now I didn't trigger myself into some feelings, so I'm gonna try to get back to the broke that was just from corporate America. I mean, getting fired. I was like, Alexis, you ain't gonna die from boredom. What can you, like, you don't have no money. You about to go to school because you can't find a job because they also blackballed me. And that's a whole nother story. And I think I signed an NDA, so I ain't gonna tell too much of that. But it was like, all right, I'm going to grad school, and I've never been able to be focused on school and work. I tried in high school, so I started working. I was on a drill team, and I was working at Blockbuster. I was 14, and I would get up at 5 a.m. to catch the bus for the drill team, and then work till midnight. And I had bad grades, so I just quit everything. I quit my job. I quit, and I just focused on school. The next card marker I had 3.8, and in my state, that like 4.0 is the highest you could get. So that was a good report card.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Alexis, you grew up broke. You ain't gonna die. Like, what can you do? So then I also remember I couldn't contribute to the bills, and my roommate was paying the bills. So I started making body care products and cleaning products because I needed to make something. Now for me, it was an identity thing though. Because I was making pretty good money relative to my state income, I felt like people only cared about me for what I could do for them, and I thought all I could do was money related, like just pay for stuff. So then I was like, well, I can put forth some effort. And it was like, if I can't, that took my corporate mind, like if I can't add to the bottom line, I can reduce the cost, right? Like if I can't add to revenue, I can reduce the cost. So that's what made me start making the body care products, because whenever we went to CVS or Walgreens, we would spend $70 just by looking at the shelf. You know, like, what the hell? Now, meanwhile, I'm on $362 a week because that's what unemployment was at the time, and it still is, just you don't know. Unemployment a week is, and that's the full amount that you could get, no matter how much money you was making, $362 a week. So fortunately, I made a good decision. I bought my house cash in the middle of the housing market crash. So I started, the body care products made me feel good, like I could contribute. I didn't realize, but they were taking out a lot of the chemicals out of my body that you get because your skin is your biggest organ. Cleaning products, I wasn't having all of that stuff, you know, all over the house. Then I stopped buying air fresheners and bought an essential oil diffuser. So but it was really about the fact that I could put a few drops and have the room smell good, and then I don't have to be using Febreze or all the other stuff that when I read it, I don't know what it is. Now, I didn't intend to be a naturalista. It just was like, I can save this money. I was also shoveling snow and doing the chores and all kind of stuff. And she was like, why is you tripping? And it was my like, I have to contribute mindset. I can't be a burden. I can't da 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 da. But then I started selling that body cream or body conditioner, body custard. It went through so many names. Right now it's body conditioner, but I also, you know, if I get too busy, I start working. You heard me. That's a thing since this will happen when you don't have accountability in your household. You can quit whenever you want. But I think I got way off track. So I found my joy practices by figuring, I had to figure it out because I was bored and and broke. And I was bored and broke and I didn't want to, like, I wanted to be resilient. I wanted to be, like, I had to like tough through it without toughing through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then joy practice. Like I discovered what I liked because I started doing art and there's art all over these walls. And I was sketching the other day to feel better. And I got a painting over there I'm working on. I owe Donnie a painting that I only got the concept in my mind for. Like it is, I found out I was an artist and I didn't even know I was an artist because that wasn't supported when I grew up. I found out that I am a coach slash counselor, but I didn't even know that because it's just what I did to everybody. It was called being overbearing. Then when people aren't seeking it. And my money story had to change though. So let's get into this money story. What are some of the money stories you have, Donnie?
Money story. One of my money stories is you can't be spiritual and have a lot of money. One of my money stories is I'm afraid of it because if I have too much, all hell's gonna break loose. There's this one doesn't run as much, but it ran for a long time. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. It was a big one. And I also, the other one that has been surfacing is if I have it, then people will use me.
Mm, that one surfaces for me.
Yeah.
That one surfaces now that I'm out here. Well, out here. I'm out here on YouTube and out here on Facebook, out here on Instagram. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. But there's this feeling like I gotta like really get my relationship solid because when I get on, I already have. I realize what I'm looking for when I'm looking to trust people. And so like trust to me is not, it is something that happens over time. Like it's a, trust is a choice, but what I was looking for was a feeling of safety, belonging, and consistency. Like those two feelings, consistently. So now I know, like now I know to look for people who provide safety and belonging consistently over time. And that's what trust will look like for me. But it is still like, I'm discovering there's this wall that I didn't know I had or I didn't use because I like clearly to be out here you gotta be out here and authentic. You don't gotta be, but that's I don't like lying and I don't want no shit coming back on me I ain't ready for it. So I just tell the truth.
When you
no, ask, go ahead.
When you
ask great questions.
What money story would you like to have?
Oh, so there's a few affirmations I've had where it's like large sums of money come to me freely and frequently. They're the real money story I would like to be really is like I have made so much positive impact for the safety and inclusion in the world with this magnanimous amount of money that I have, right? Like that. So I don't believe it that there should be billionaires, right? Like I do not while there's people who have their survival needs at threat. and I don't care how hard they work, they, so like, I know that there's a conflict in the money store I want to have, because I want to have enough money to be generous without it being a threat to the amount of money I have.
Mm-hmm.
However, that's just because this is the way that I know that the world works right now. What I want to be able to, the money story, I want to have a legacy of do good or positive impact. I really like LeBron James, like he made a school, and Big Sean has been very active with the Flint water crisis, and he partnered with like to make some kind of music program in the schools here or something like that. Don't But what I see is people being willing to give back a lot, and I would like to be, and not necessarily, and I don't want to see it as give back. It's like invest in the future of,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm investing in the future of my culture. I'm investing in the shared future that I want to create. So I want my legacy, like I want people to talk about me after I'm dead, but not because for my ego, but like I want them to, I want to be the kind of person, not like have, but I want to be the kind of person that people be like, I'm gonna do that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I feel I have good ideas for inclusion. I have good ideas for, I mean, all kind of ideas flow down the moonbeam. But like, I am a trustworthy person. I have integrity. I am kind. I am considerate. I'm also human, so I'm not sitting here putting myself, don't even be trying to think I'm saying that I don't have fall off, because that's not the truth. But when I think about my ideas, and I'm working on shifting those, but like when I think about my ideas of the kind of impact or the way I want the world to look, why should I should have money? I should have these things because I am the aforementioned. I have that character. I am that person. Like the things that I geek that like really light me up are social impact. The thing, like, but social impact in a way that make like the hood. First of all, it made me stop saying like so much, but to make the hood part of me look good and desirable.
Mm-hmm.
But then to make that part in others not look like a detriment or something that is like, oh, you got to find value in them in spite of. Like, I want to make, and I'm not talking about hood culture as it is like presented now, where it's violent and poor, but like, no, there's a sense of community. People do stick together. Now they have rules about how they stick together, but I've been looked out way more by poor people, like when I say looked out way more for, I mean in individual events, like the quantity of individual events where people have looked out for me has been higher amongst poor people than it is affluent people. That doesn't mean affluent people haven't shown me kindness and looked out for me. It's just that when I look at the quantity of events, poor people do it more often.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I want my story to be that I did really well with my abundance and made significant impact to the globe. Now, I didn't mean to get that personal, because
No,
you
this
know about
is
R&R Village, and you know about all the stuff that I like geek out and dream about. Like, I need money for that.
yeah. That's why we're having this conversation, because I think, and we talk about this in a lot of our phone calls, is part of why people are attracted to you as a human and attracted to your work is because you show up authentically all the time. Like, I don't have to guess with you.
And I don't want you to.
Yeah, yeah. And there's something so comforting in that, and I'm glad people can see this side of you, because it's magical. It's magical. As you were sharing, I was thinking about what my dream would be, and I had these visual images of everybody having their own personal ATM. They say, okay, that's the Donnie ATM. He can go to the bank. You just got to go to your ATM and your money's there. You got the Alexis ATM where you go. It's like, I would like to do this. Great. Here you go.
Ease of access. Yes.
Ease of access. And there are a couple of things that I want to share and then dive in with you, because I want to hear your perspective. The first is this idea of, okay, if we truly believe in abundance, then that is an abundant lifestyle. But so many of the messages that we get right now are about lack. Okay, this organization only has this certain amount of money, so we have to distribute it through these different initiatives or projects or this group of people. Okay, this organization, they're gonna hoard their money because they need to spend it on this. But if you go in and ask, they don't have any funds. And so for me, that's very much a lack mentality. That's not an abundance mentality. But then this is the piece that gets me, is like when people talk about faith, and I have my own complicated relationship with faith. I'm finding a new one, but it's making me think about this question in a different way, and making me think about money in a different way. If I truly have faith, then that means that I believe that if there is something that my heart and soul desires, and that it's with the intention of doing some good for my community or doing something good for humanity, then there are resources available to match that desire. And we can have a whole conversation around quantum mechanics or quantum physics and how all of attraction works and all of that. But when I think about money in that way, it's like, oh yeah, part of the reason why I just want to start talking about my desires is because more and more I'm starting to see money come in from these different areas or resources or people. So it's helping me shift the way I think about money, or the way I think about abundance, and the way I think about my dreams and my joy, because I'm now beginning to see these little connection points come together. And there are moments where I feel good and I'm in it, and then there are moments where I'm like, yeah, but that can't happen. And so I think part of the money story journey is really getting clear around, what do we actually believe about money, and why do we believe it? Like, why do I think I'm not worthy of money? Why do I think I can't bring my dreams to life?
So it's interesting. You said a few things. So I hope we're at the part where you want, to dive in.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, faith, you mentioned faith and belief. I had my spiritual awakening, and I found that only things that I knew manifested like that.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't, so like belief, when I was like examining my body reaction, or I guess now I learned is neuro-linguistic programming, right? But once again, I had this awakening, and I just went through some stuff, and now I'm learning its language. But I'm learning what happened. But I was looking at the words, like, so I didn't like belief, because when I entertain things in belief, do they know we recording? But when I entertain things with belief, belief gave room for doubt. Like, so belief isn't a fact to me. Belief is this out there concept that like requires faith, and faith isn't a fact. if you're a metaphysician, there's this co-creation with God. There's this co-creation with the collect. However you relate to God, you and that God or gods or no God in consciousness, however you, Mother, Father, Universe, Jesus. Well, maybe not, because once you like the some of the when you get into religion, there's rules, and then anyway, I'm getting way too. I can go, but the knowledge. So the part where like I realized, oh, if I don't know nothing about it and I just go operate from pure desire, it'll show up like that. Things that I know something about, I got to do that rewiring.
Mm-hmm.
So my money story was stuff that I knew to be true. And what I mean by that is like, I know that if I get rich, everybody gonna be begging. Or I know that if I don't do this, then I won't be able to eat. These are things that I knew, but they really weren't what I knew. They were beliefs that I had held to be true. So then the universe, Mother, Father, God, or and however I relate, said, all right, you think it's true, it's true. And then learning how to dream and dream for myself. I only had what I knew to be true to like put together those dreams.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
hard to think of a dream that's beyond just what you
anything
know.
you know, right? Like
Yeah.
I might see the end game in a download, but not knowing how I'm gonna get there and not having enough concepts for how that stuff is done. Like for example, Donnie, the one that told me I need to start talking about R&R Village. And I talked about it and people like, oh, I like that. And while, you know, it's just, everybody know that like it gave me more people were giving me help with thinking about it though in their reflections. Stuff I didn't know to be thinking about, I learned to be thinking about. And then there was room for like, oh, okay, now I know more, so I know more about it, so I can believe or I can know that it's possible for me through learning more about what's possible. That's how I learned that it don't necessarily take my money. But before, my money story was everything I have to pay for, everything
Yeah.
I have to do. The thought of people gifting me things or donating or philanthropy, like philanthropy was this outside concept, and it was about me having to know how, like figure out how it's gonna get done was what was holding me back. So then when you bring up faith, once I learned the process and I learned the places where I had resistant thoughts or I knew a conflicting reality, I had to do the work of learning a new reality to be true, which means that there is some stepping out on faith. It's like, it's almost, so it's maybe not stepping out on faith in the way I want to explain it, but it's like, all right, I don't know nothing, so I'm gonna test, right? Like I'm gonna do this and see what data is good from and what data is not. And I'm gonna do this and see what data is good and what data is not. And over time, the amount of good data, because I also had to remain focused on that and process what feelings came up. So like instead of scanning for what was wrong about it, I scanned for what was right. And then if negative feelings came up, I would deal with those negative feelings. So it wasn't like I'm just, toxic positivity, but I changed my focus to the positive on purpose. Like I set the intention to look for what was good and take note of that, because then that's the stuff I bring to the next like trial and error phase. And then the more good I stacked, the more then I knew good was possible for me. And once I knew good was possible for me, I just want to say this last point because I see I'm
Yeah.
rambling.
Yeah.
But once
No.
I knew something was good was possible for me, it was easier. So, for example, I don't know if you remember, but I hired an assistant. I hired an assistant when I was getting laid off from my job, and I was about to go on unemployment, which is 362 a week, right? And I didn't have no full price paying clients yet, no actively authentic allyship course, no YouTube, no nothing. But there was 4 years of that data collection about what is and isn't possible. So then I knew that, and so what I said was, I'm gonna hire this assistant because ain't no way I'm gonna be able to do all this shit without somebody to help me. And I'm going to if I sink, then guess it'll just be another disappointment, and I'll bounce back, and I just have to let her go. You know what I'm saying? I talked to her about the cancellation. Like she like it take 2 weeks. I'm like, all right, so I know how to budget in case I need to. And then now there's the actively authentic allyship course. I got 5 paying clients. I have this YouTube channel that is not yet monetized, but feel free to, sponsors. I'm if my values are in alignment, I'm also have a sales history. So like you can get some good descriptions out of me, and you want me to test out your stuff, I be needing new clothes anyway, right? Like whatever it is, if I like it, I'll talk about it because I like to talk. But and I gotta believe in it though, because once again, that integrity will be real. But so hiring that assistant actually before that I had crowdfunded some money for a coaching course, and believing in myself enough to ask other people to believe in me did something for my mind. And then hiring that assistant with hopes that the money would be there. Well, not hopes. I just figured if it wouldn't, like I wasn't attached to whether or not it would be there. I would have this month to utilize and get. And Ursula's been a dream, right? Like I would have just, and then so we've been together, I think 3 months now. Like it is, but in them 3 months, if I'd had an assistant, I wouldn't have. Well, the business coach, there's Speak Serve Sell, great program, and Donnie.
It's a phenomenal program.
Because realize this, and when joining that program was how I knew to get an assistant and help me get some mental concepts. And so all of that to say, I had to build the knowing that things can manifest and not having to figure it out. I had to build that muscle through data collection and focusing on the positives, like collecting the data of the positives, because my life was so negative before I felt like I had enough data about that.
I love listening to you talk because it just like you just it helps so many pieces of my brain that are doing this, and it's like, thank you. Because I think so much of what I'm finding, both in my joy practices and in rewriting my narrative story, is I'm having to find the positives, regardless of how small they might be. It's things like, oh, money. There have been moments where I've had large chunks of money. There have been moments where I've had plenty of money to buy something that I want or go on a trip. Money serves me. Money supports me. Money allows me to contribute to my household. Money allows me to share with my family. Money allows me to take care of my animals. Money allows me to invest in myself and in my business. And so those are the things that I know because, like you said, I've seen the data collected. And sometimes it's hard to make the quantum leap of, I have $100,000 in my bank account all the time, when that hasn't been my experience. And so I'm going to be wobbling a lot more there. But if I talk about these other wins, then it helps build that muscle to do the rewiring. It's like, oh yeah, I'm more consistently doing the work, the positive practices. And because of that, I'm more consistently seeing the results of the positive practices.
Let me ask you this, because this just made me think about, there's this other aspect of like that consistently positive, right? Mm-hmm. How many of your money judgments have you had to come against? Like once you get the money, it's like, wait a minute, oh, so I was judging this, and now that I got the experience, I probably shouldn't have been judging this so much. So what were some of the money judgments that you had to let go to let the money in?
I think one of the biggest ones is you can't spend money on things that you genuinely love or care about just because they make you feel good. Like I wasn't being responsible with it. I wasn't saving it. I wasn't putting it towards something that was an investment. It was more for like my own instant gratification and pleasure. What are some of the other money judgments?
Well, while you thinking, I'm gonna say
Yeah,
one for me.
you, Sarah, show one.
So I went through this when after that awakening, I was so unattached to my body and my body's survival that like nothing gave me identity other than spirituality. Nothing like my ego. I just was at a place where that while I was creating the new ego of being a spiritual being, but the ego of Alexa's pre-awakening was gone. So it was like that. It was this wonderful, like spiritual song, like this that embodiment of love and radiance, and I wrote that for some months, right? So then what would happen though is I recognized how much I was attached to capitalistic things. Like, so I talked about the $70 in the drugstore because if I see it, I buy it. I wasn't bringing any conscious intention to what I was buying or making sure that it was just like impulse, stimulation, buy, buy, buy. So then I would judge people that did that or judge people. Unfortunately, I gave my brother's girlfriend so many judgments. There was so much stuff conflicted up in there, right? Like fortunately we have resolved and she's been wonderful in giving me some grace. Um, but people who were shopaholics, I judged. And if you was buying things you didn't need, I judged. But that's even a scarcity mindset there, thinking, oh, you can only have what you need. So there's a balance to me. Like I would judge like I'm the billionaire that does nothing for starving people. But I'm starting to let go of some of that because I realize I ain't never been a billionaire before. And so I don't know what that's like. And once I get there, like I do believe I'm gonna do a whole bunch of initiatives. I can't see that part of me changing. Plus, the moonbeam gave me some visions, but it I judge those with more than me.
Me too. That was the one that came up for me as you were talking. It was like, oh yeah, I judge people who have a lot of money, but sometimes they make the decision that they don't want to invest in something. It's like, well, why wouldn't you? Like, because they have that right. That's their free will.
And don't let it be to me they ain't want to invest in. I took that shit so personally. I took it so personally. Like, wait a minute. I'm good. I'm capable, and it would make me feel not good and not capable. When really I just didn't have enough to be viable at that stage. And if they're looking at me as a commodity, right, return on investment, I wasn't at the stage where I could offer one. But in my mind, I'm capable. I could do it. The moonbeam showed me. Let's go. And that was just not like, I'm so happy where I am now. All that resistance we carry, it'll hold you back. Another one. So like this isn't necessarily a money story, but it is related to money. And so being afraid to be shiny, like so some of that is oppression, some of that is code switching in corporate America and how much I couldn't like self-express. But then it's kind of like before I did my own like development on the kind of person I wanted to be, like making sure I was kind, compassionate, and all these things. The idea of being shiny was like, whoa, you're going to be trying to hold me to task. And what if I don't live up and blah, 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 blah. And so I would dim my light or bring it in like opportunity. So if I was getting too close to the top, I would feel the gratification already as if I'm not a competitive person anyway, but having been to the top. So like there was this safe spot of if you think like, I could be a 92% A. Well, frankly, I could be a 90% A depending on the grading scale. As long as I was an A, I was good. But I did not have to be that A plus 101%, like that it was like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
But then that would hold me back from opportunities of advancement. It would keep me from seeking stuff. Maybe my grind, like it would show up as sabotaging my business. When we talked about this the other day with that ebb and flow of money. And so like, now that I'm an entrepreneur, getting the money, like having the large sum, like, all right, so the course sold, it was halfway sold out. That's a chunk of money. Y'all can look up the price. But then the having the clients, that's money coming in. But all right, I got enough. I'm kind of tired. Now I'm gonna relax. Now I'm not gonna, because I'm indoctrinated, or I program myself to, as soon as I hit the close to the top,
You're
to
like,
fall back.
mm-hmm.
Now I'm an entrepreneur. That's directly affecting my money. So I'm doing that work. I'm changing that money story now. How you change?
I'm still very much a work in progress. Like I feel with my business and my money journey, there are moments where I turn on the faucet and it's like, oh yeah, light's coming in. And then I unconsciously turn the faucet off. And it's like, okay, well, I know I still got a lot of water left in the sink, so I'm just gonna hang here. And then when it starts getting closer to the drain, I'm like, shit, how do I turn on the faucet again? And then I feel like I have to do all this effort to try and turn the faucet on again. And even as I'm having this conversation with you, I realize I want a much more fluid experience with money. I want the floss.
I'm looking at what I wrote up. Residual plus rest equals satisfaction.
Yeah.
That's what I want. When we had that
Yeah.
conversation the other day, y'all, we were talking about it in prep for this one. It was like, oh, yes, I want residual income and rest. Like, I want to be able to turn the faucet on and then rest, and the faucet still keep going, and it flow overly and abundantly. Rest is a part of my liberation.
I hadn't thought about that analogy in this way, but it's like, I don't want to be suffocated by money or the flow. And I think that's the piece where the giving and receiving is really important.
Suffocated by money?
Yeah.
Okay, what that mean?
I think for me, what that means is, like, the money becomes more important than the contribution or the giving back or the impact, rather than them being these equal things. It's like, oh yeah, money, 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 money. And then the impact just goes by the wayside. Because for me,
out.
What'd you say?
Selling out.
Yeah, they're selling out.
I don't want to sell out either.
So I don't, yeah, that's what I mean. I don't want to be suffocated by it. Actually, I did have an experience a week or two ago where a guy reached out to me to say, hey, I have some money to pay. And I never talked to him before. It was an inquiry on LinkedIn. And I ended up doing a discovery call session with him. And I said, we aren't a fit. You, like, our values aren't in alignment. And then a few days later, he sent me a message again saying, hey, I have money to pay you. I said, no. And that for me was my reminder of, like, okay, you're strong. You're not just gonna go after money because it's there. Because I know if I probably worked with him, I wouldn't enjoy the experience. So, money brings up a lot of stuff.
I think money brings up a lot, and then we got to wrap, because I don't know what time it is. My phone over there, and it don't show me in the bottom corner, but I could feel that we've been talking for a little bit.
We've been talking for an hour.
Oh, okay. Well, we definitely got to wrap. But money brings up a lot of stuff, because money is related to internal security in a capitalistic society. My survival is directly related to how much money I have in a capitalistic society. My ability to feel secure and feel like I can self-actualize, or the level, like, so we sell this bootstrap mentality as if, like, having to pull yourself up by the bootstraps doesn't do psychological or wreak psychological havoc on you. Like, the level of work you got to do to go from extreme scarcity to extreme abundance is abnormal human.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why money brings up so much, because in our society, and frankly, most of the world, since we've gone away from a lot of the indigenous practices of living with the land, being a steward of things, and moved into ownership. Like literally, there are places where you own air. Like I think I don't own the air rights to my above my house,
Mm.
but there are places where you do own the air rights. Like, how you gonna tell me where's the air stop? We've commoditized everything, so everything in our subconscious minds, if you don't go in there and do the programming, is related to money.
Yeah. All right. So what's if people don't remember anything else from our conversation, what's the one thing you want them to remember about joy? And what's the one thing you want them to remember about money?
I could have swore I was the host of the conversation, but since I've been asked, the thing that I want them to remember about joy is that it was a few things. It's your birthright. It is a practice, and it requires experimentation and curiosity. As it relates to money, your money story can be changed, but it is a practice. It is looking for positive, like it requires experimentation and risk, but it is possible. And it doesn't have to be your money. So don't think of your money as the only way. Remain in integrity when you think that, just because I want a more integrous world. But it does, like, there are more possibilities than you can think of. So leave space for that in your money story. So Donnie, what is one thing you would like to leave, want people to remember about joy, Black boy joy, and about money?
Okay. I think one thing that I want people to remember about Black boy joy is, I think it's a couple of things. I think the first is assume that people won't or don't have the capacity to validate your existence, so that you don't have to rely on that for your own personal joy and well-being.
No.
That why doesn't that sit?
It doesn't sit because there are people that will. So I feel like when you assume they won't, like, I feel like I agree with the message that you're saying. Like, you don't have to seek outside validation. But there are people that will. There are people out there. And I feel like if you just assume everybody won't, you could be severing opportunities for connection with people who will.
I don't mean assume, maybe those were the wrong words. How I approach going into interactions now with people is that I have no idea what this person is going to think about me. But if I'm thinking about, I have to make this connection work, or I have to make this opportunity work, or I want this person to like me, or I want to impress this person, then I bring all this additional baggage into the conversation that's not actually helpful for me. And so if my joy and my appreciation for myself is built on trying to get that from them, then I'm always going to be trying to seek it.
So that I agree with. Before we get into the money, I just want to give the clarifying language for what I heard. Show up curious and then make your choice, right? Then make it, so don't assume nothing ahead of time. Show up open and authentic and feeling valid within yourself, and you'll find your people.
Yeah.
But you gotta show up with no story.
Yeah.
Okay, now money.
The money story is, money is good, and money can be a friend, and money can be trusted and appreciated and loved on and respected, and you can have a wonderful relationship with money.
I love all that. So now, before we close all the way, y'all that's been watching know what Cheer Bear is up here for. It's time for us to cheer you on. Tell everybody where they can find you, what you up to, what's going on, and how you can maximize their life.
All right. So if people want to get in touch with me, they can send an email to Donnie, DONNIE, at thelifemaximizer.com, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Donnie Hill. What I'm up to, I'm currently doing a lot of work with leaders around community restoration, and beginning to do some talks on mental health and how to move from depression to a more joyful experience. So it's been a lot of fun to see that part of my work come to life.
Well, that is awesome. We're gonna cheer you on. You feel the cheer beaming out of your chest. And just so y'all know, the things that I'm up to is I have 4 spots. Although when I be looking at my schedule, I don't know where they are, but you show up, 4 spots open for 4 new one-on-one clients. I have the Actively Authentic Allyship course that is underway. There's no more openings for that, but it will be coming out again. There's Wellness the Ratchet Way. Stay tuned for that. It's a reclamation of our authentic selves. If you find yourself to be ratchet and you want to figure out how ratchetness and well-being go together, I'm your gal. And then I am putting together, I have the logo for the flyer. I am waiting to book the DJ. I have that conversation on Tuesday, but a Share Future or Bust Ballot Awareness Virtual Body Paint and Public Policy event. So the name is Share Future or Bust. We're going to be doing body painting and have a DJ. And then the goal is to educate you about what's on the ballot, or to show you, I don't know, we'll figure that part out. But it's my contribution to making sure you're prepared for election on November 3rd. But feel free to get your ballot, look up the issues ahead of time, and vote early and in person, or drop your ballot off to the clerk, because voter suppression is real and every vote counts, and you want your vote to count. And I know it might seem like it doesn't matter, but if Black lives matter, voting matters. And if Black lives don't matter, we need to vote the people out of office who feel like they don't matter.
Yep.
You can clearly see where my political affiliation lies. Y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Donnie, for being here for this comfy couch conversation. And in your pajamas, right? Show them the plant leg. That's what let them know it's the pajamas and not a real t-shirt. Show them the plant leg. You see that? Them pajama pants.
I got my house shoe.
And if y'all don't remember nothing else about this conversation, remember I've been working out and my booty sits on top of my thighs instead of on them. We'll talk to y'all later.
I'll see you later.